Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nini Chong, and I am the founder and producer of Her Rise Story. So, this week, what's exciting is that we just launched a new series, and that's called Five Dimensions of Self Care series, right? And why we launched this series is just because it's been 5 weeks that we have been at home, staying safe at home. And I guess what we need to step back and take a look at whether or not we are taking good care of ourselves, especially if we are moms, we are fathers, right? Because we not only have to take care of ourselves but also our family. And some of us is taking care of the family, taking care of the business, taking care of work from home, taking care of the household, taking care of everyone's health, taking care of the food supply, and there are just so many things. The list would go on, right? So um, this is why I guess we need to actually take care of ourselves. And today we will be having a conversation with Datin Azrin Ahmad. She is the founder of Imago Consulting, um, and trainings, right? So she is actually a certified master trainer in image, I think. Or what I'll do is I'll get her to speak more about herself and social self care and how do we do that at home. All right. So let's bring on Ed now. Azrin. Hang on. Yeah. So what's going on here? Yay! That's
Hi.
Azrin. Hi, Azrin.
Hi.
I can't hear you. Okay.
Can you hear me
So,
now?
no. Why can't I suddenly hear you? Hang on.
Have a look.
What is that? Okay. On top of your screen,
Yep.
at the bottom, next to the X button, there is a settings button. Maybe you just would like to enable your mic.
Uh, Hang on a minute. There's no mic button. There's only an X and a camera turning the other way.
Hang on, yeah. Let me just see. Hang on. Let me just hide Azrin again, and let's see what happens after this. Okay, so let's try to put her back on the screen. Hang on, yeah, guys. Okay, we are having
Okay.
Azrin on
Can you hear me
air
now?
in a bit. Azrin,
Three, two,
yay!
one.
Oh, I
Can you
still can't
hear?
hear you now,
Oh
Azrin. Okay,
no!
it's okay. You know what you could do, Azrin?
I'll sign back
Okay,
on.
you know what? This is really great. Then we get to have people see that how we make things happen, right? So on your Google Chrome at the um, browser space, right? It says app, the word app dot, and there is a lock. Okay, all right. So let's wait for Azrin, and in the meantime, oh, there's Azrin again. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. Okay, let's turn the screen. Okay, awesome. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's see. It was all okay
Okay.
when we
Testing
test
one,
streamed this
two,
now.
three. Can you hear? Still cannot hear.
Hi, Azrin.
Hello. Hi. Can
Can
you
I
hear
hear you?
me?
I still can't hear you. Let me just see what is happening here. Okay. Let me just see what is happening here. And okay, so you just hang on the line. Okay, it's okay. We will figure this out. Hang on, yeah. Say something, Azri.
Testing one,
Oh,
two,
still no.
three.
Okay, so I'm gonna reload my screen, and we'll be back in a few seconds. Yeah.
Okay. Problem, she can't hear me.
Because your line seems clear.
Hello?
Let's say 4:15.
Okay.
Ah.
Hi, can you hear me now?
I still can't hear you now. Okay, so let's try this.
Try
Okay,
again.
so at the browser column, okay, never mind. Yes. Woohoo. Yep, can hear you. Awesome. Yes.
Okay.
So um tech the tech pixies are being cheeky. Okay. How are you, Azreen?
I'm good, Nini. Thank you for having me online.
Yeah, how has it been at home? I know that
Well,
you're one busy woman, right?
yeah.
Thanks so much for
Eh,
saying yes, to talk about social self-care today,
yes, we are definitely. I think a lot of people are desperately in need of it.
right?
All of us, actually.
But before that, right, let's talk about you, Azreen, okay?
Okay.
Um, I know that because we are both trainers and speakers, right? And we are in the gig economy,
Yes.
yeah, right? So how has it been? How has it been so far for you?
Well, initially it was really difficult because even before the movement control order came about, I mean, the company was scheduled to have all these trainings for all our clients starting from beginning of March.
Mm-hmm.
But as early as February, I think we all had heard the government say, okay, in the interest of safety and health and everything,
Mm-hmm.
all these gatherings should be shelved. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our clients actually canceled the training, which meant that there was no income coming in. We
Mm-hmm.
suddenly found that the busiest months that we're used to,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing at home. We've got nothing to do. So it was a very difficult period, and it was also a mad scramble to figure out how to do different things. So I'm fortunate because I don't just have my company that runs the training consultancy. I have other companies that I run, and I have other interests that have kept me busy as well. And the kids have actually been doing online schooling from home. We decided to do all sorts of things like set up all these tutorials online, webinars and forums through all the various NGOs that I'm doing. And yeah, so far it's been great. And recently we joined forces with Melinda, Lui, and Moda because they really needed help.
Yeah.
So, from a different company,
Mm-hmm.
uh, our clothing label for children, instead of producing garments for Raya, we basically have switched to producing PPE garments for hospitals and frontliners. So
Mm,
it's about adapting.
that's so nice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and I guess it feels good to contribute right now in any way. at all, right? And you
Yeah.
are one of the designers who actually stepped up and
Yeah.
helped the frontliners because they are putting their lives at risk right now,
Yeah.
and the PPE is one of necessary item. It's like their shield, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
So how did that go so far?
Well, we got our first shipment of fabrics last week, and the ladies in Taiping have started sewing.
Mhm.
So yesterday was all about cutting. Today and the rest of the week will be sewing and then packing. Next week
Mhm.
we'll be taking the garments back to be given back to Moda. So it's interesting times.
Oh, all right. And that initiative by you is represented by Three Little Ahmads, right?
Yes, yes, that's the company that sells clothes for children.
Yeah.
So the clothes are reversible, and they can be worn in different styles and different designs. So you only pay one payment, and then you get from 2 to 6 different styles or different ways of wearing it, depending on your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever currently right now buys those clothes, what happens is, um, the money from your order 100% goes to the ladies, the single moms, and the stay-at-home moms who are actually sewing the clothes.
Mhm. Okay, nice. And I know because my kids wore Little Ahmads last year for Hari Raya. So
Yeah.
what will you be is Three Little Ahmad producing anything for Hari Raya this year?
This year we were having, we had a lot of plans to do so, but because of, the backlog with customs and excise in China, backlogs with customs and excise in Malaysia, and
Mm-hmm.
then with the movement control order, meaning that people can't go into the factories to produce. Even though we produce in Malaysia, we thought that we wouldn't be affected, but with all these different factors coming in, we've decided to stop producing for Raya this year. So whatever fabrics that we've ordered for this year will be kept and rolled over for the next collection. Either if the movement control order lifts maybe after Raya, then we'll plan something for Raya Haji. If not, then for Raya next year, 2021. So the clothes that are on sale right now, they're actually from whatever is left over from previous season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Okay. So, but what Three Little Ahmad is doing this year is something bigger,
Yes,
right? So,
yes.
it's not very often that you get the opportunity to actually give back to the frontliners, especially when it is a global pandemic right now, kan?
That's right. That's right. And it's not just that, but if you think about it from an economic standpoint as well, a lot of the rural economics development and the income that the rural population makes is actually the 2 3 months in the run up to festive season. That's when they start sewing. These ladies start sewing garments and receiving orders from all the different brands and labels, and
Mhm.
that's their livelihood. So
Mhm.
when in February, March, and now coming up to April, there's zero income coming in. They're not putting
Mhm.
food on the table. They have no means to eat.
Yep.
And these are single moms, so it's a single income household anyways. The stay-at-home moms, even if it is a double income household, either their husbands or their spouse, they're either farming or factory workers themselves, so absolutely no income. What are they going to eat? And that's when that's the thing that's been keeping me up at night, the economic standpoint as well. So it's actually twofold in terms of the social impact that's there. So whatever money that the ladies would make, we pay for their man hours through the sale of our garments, and then that allows them to come back into sew, or they sew at home, and they get paid per garment or per piece that they or per set that they actually sew for the hospital frontliners. Meaning that this whole week they'll be able to eat.
Right, and that's really good. And I have been doing a lot of reading that so for example H&M right now,
Yeah.
most of their products come from Bangladesh,
Yes.
and they have 200 million orders being cancelled
Yeah.
and that is affecting the Bangladeshi tailors in Bangladesh, right? And
Yes.
yesterday I just had a conversation with someone who is doing something similar with you, but you are doing fashion. She's doing coffee, so
Yeah.
she got really emotional because normally she takes in coffee from the coffee farmers, but because it's slow moving, so she's thinking, how can I take more coffee from them just so that they can eat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, inshallah, uh,
Inshallah.
if,
God will bless all endeavors.
right.
Yeah.
You know what, Azrin? Do you mind to just put your device a little bit to the front so that I can see your pretty
You
face?
want to see my face? Here you go.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about social self-care, right?
Yes.
Okay. Social self-care. So I know that you are one of my friend, right,
Mm.
that would actually step up and contribute, when there's a call, when there's a contribution that involves the community or adding value to someone, you would always answer the call and say yes to it.
Yeah.
And but you are also very, I wouldn't say very protective. How you would, right, at a certain length, protect your environment, especially your
Yes.
physical environment, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I guess at these challenging times, it's important to do that as well because we are at home. We are
Yes.
at home and we are so exposed to what is happening in all digital platforms,
Mm.
right? So there are times that we do not have a choice what comes up on our timeline.
Yeah.
But how has it been for you so far?
Well, I think for me, the main thing is, because I'm a severe introvert, and you are right, I'm very protective of my own personal space.
Mhm.
It used to be about 6, 7 months ago, I was living in my own house, but then we moved into my mother-in-law's house. And at one point, my mother-in-law's house housed 15 people, right? So where do you get your personal space? And it was actually a practice for for when COVID hit because you got very adept at looking for that. And I think for introverts like me or severe introverts like me, we need to carve out that personal space
Mhm.
away from everybody else.
Mhm.
That and then we set boundaries or rules that nobody's allowed, no matter how important it is,
Mhm.
nobody is allowed to actually invade that personal space unless you give permission to do so.
Mhm.
With the kids, it's a bit difficult. I've got 4 kids ranging from 12 to 2 years old. So Ellie invades my personal space constantly because she's
Mhm.
attached like a koala.
Mhm.
But the other 3 boys, um, it's been a practice of being polite. It's been a practice of ask before you enter
Mhm.
or ask before you approach nearer.
Mhm.
And I think the boys, being extroverts, have also decided that, even as an extrovert, you still need your own personal space.
Mhm.
Because gone are the days over the last 5 weeks where we can actually just walk out of the house if things get too much. Gone are the days when parents can just go and sit in a mama stall for half an hour, 1 hour, run away from the kids, leave them with the baby, just so that they can, refresh mentally and emotionally before they start wanting to strangle their kids.
Mhm.
So I do notice that about the household. Everyone has decided to have their own space, whether you're an extrovert or whether you're an introvert.
Mhm.
But you can see that extroverts seek the human touch and the connection more.
Mhm.
They tend to speak more. They tend to want noise surrounding them.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I've noticed is also social, emotional and social validation.
Mhm. Mhm.
So those that are doing TikToks, Yeah, those are normally the extroverts that I can see, because that's how they crave it. So they're utilizing um, social media in order to be able to get their emotional fix or their
Mm-hmm.
social fix.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't need that. It's from a very young age. You can lock me up on my own. I can have conversations, interesting conversations with myself. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to seek other people out, but extroverts do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that sets the tone for our topic today, which is how much space do you need? And only you know how much you need, and you know how much is too much and when to pull back.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you feel, immediately as soon as that need crops up in you, you
Mm-hmm.
need to pull back. If
Mm-hmm.
not, things are going to happen that should not be happening, like fights or discord or punches fly around in cases of children,
Mm-hmm.
or in cases of babies. They can't say anything, they can't speak. So how do they show their emotions? They start screaming and crying and tantruming. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing. I think you need to decide how much space and how much validation you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm a super extroverted, right? So
Yeah.
hence the talk show. So I get my energy when I communicate with people, and
Yes.
I have something similar to you, but the other way around, right? So I have an introverted husband, and
Yes.
you have an extroverted husband,
Extrovert husband, yeah.
right? Okay, so but they also say that even though that we are a person is an introvert, you still need some sort of human connection, human
Yes, that's
touch,
right.
right? But how let's talk about this, right? So um, what kind of human connection or social connection would normally an introvert crave for or long for or need
Okay. Yeah.
maybe. Mhm.
I think it's first of all important to underline the fact that introverts don't hate people.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
actually love people.
Yep.
It's just they connect more with a certain type of people or a
Mhm.
certain group of people, and
Mhm.
they connect more on an individual level.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they take people in small doses as opposed to large doses. That's introverts, whether you're borderline introvert extrovert or you're a severe introvert. So I have a few suggestions for those that are introverts.
Mhm.
One is actually to seek out individual activities.
Mhm.
So extroverts will go and look for those group
Mhm.
exercise classes.
Mhm.
Introverts will download an app and exercise on their own
Mhm.
in a corner. And that's what you need to do, because that your emotional and social well-being depends on how good you're feeling, and how
Mhm.
good you're feeling depends on how good your body is feeling. And
Mhm.
so you do need a little bit of exercise in order to get those nice happy endorphins going.
Mhm.
Okay. The second thing, example of individual activities would be reading. So, as you know, you can sit next to a person
Mhm.
and still be in a different world through
Yep.
books.
Yep. Yep.
And you will not be offending your spouse or your children, because they can see that you're doing something, and they can see how rapt you are or enraptured you are in that world. So they'll give you your space.
Mhm.
And having that book, being allowed to escape into another environment,
Mhm.
is actually therapeutic for those who are introverts. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a book, it could be a magazine, it could be articles, just not those scaremongering COVID-19 articles. Introverts will reflect and ponder, and then they work themselves up into a frenzy. So, reading is a good one. I cook a lot.
Mhm.
So that's a responsibility. You can't run away from your responsibility. Whatever it is right now, you need to cook for a whole lot of people in the house, and you have to
Tell me
take
about it.
yeah, you have to take orders from everyone. So for me, um, I actually have schedules for when the kids can actually ask for things. So there's breakfast, there's lunch, there's dinner. If you need a snack, there's a little snack corner. You are allowed to take one item per snack time. If by 8:30, 9 o'clock, everyone's finished dinner, and then they ask me for something at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I'll just say, sorry, kitchen's closed. Okay. Whereas the extrovert will be, oh, yes, okay, what do you need? I'll make more. Come, I'll do more. That's the difference. And that's what extroverts need. So introverts are a bit different. They have boundaries and they have guidelines, and yeah. So I think at one point I did get fed up with my kids because they were eating me out of house and home. So I actually said, I ain't no cafeteria lady. So
Aku bukan pergi kantin ya.
so you ask me the night before what you want to eat for tomorrow, I'll prepare that. Otherwise, you don't ask, I just cook, you eat whatever's on the table, you eat. If not, you go hungry. That's it. Yeah. So that's the kind of social validation for me with my kids. The fact that I put stuff on the table and they actually eat it, and social validation for extroverts would be being continuously asked to cook and to provide. They need that to survive. Introverts would be like, no, I've given, done. Yeah. So
I've given you the quota already.
to
So
cook, yes.
please say
Yes.
thank you. You're
That's
welcome.
Yes, eat and then go somewhere else. Go to your corner, play somewhere else. What else has helped me so far, keep me sane over the last 5 weeks? Sewing. Sewing's been a thing that I picked up again recently. And again, it's because you're concentrating on one thing and you're concentrating on a project. So introverts deal well with project by project basis activities. And not just introverts, but I think anyone with children who have autism. That's another thing as well. Don't overload them with their sensories. Just make sure that there's a well-ordered schedule, and make sure that they are able to concentrate on one task at any one time. And it would prevent your meltdowns as well. So for me, sewing is very much an exercise of reminding my ADD behavior, my attention deficit disorder behavior, to actually calm down, no tantrums. It relaxes me a lot, and it just means that I know I've started something and I'm going to get somewhere by the end of the week, or by the end of movement control order. Something will be done. So recently it was my mother-in-law's birthday, and we finished what I call a UFO. A UFO in sewing terms is actually not an unidentified object, it's actually an unfinished object. So I had this thing for 6 years. So I thought now would be a good time to finish it. And it took a week to finish it all off, because there are no distractions, there's no work. There's no, the children are off doing their online schooling or their own activities. So that, as an introvert, was a good opportunity to just say to everyone, shut up and get out of my way for a while. So that was good.
Yeah. And sorry?
Yeah. So that was the first one. I have a few more. I think we've talked about it. You need to take time out regularly. Don't be afraid to lock the door if necessary. If you have to barricade yourself in the bathroom whilst you eat, that's fine. Just do it. Those that have kids, just make sure that your spouse plays a big role. Now that Fazli's back, Fazli was away for self-quarantine for an extra 2 weeks. He was away initially for the first 2 weeks of MCO because of shooting, and then extra 2 weeks when he came back for self-quarantine. So it was very difficult for me to be the head of household, the mommy, the daddy, the daughter-in-law, the sister-in-law, everything all combined. So that was for me an emotional and social overload, because I had to do a lot of things, but at the same time I couldn't show everyone how distressed I was. by all of this. So now that he's back, he's been very good in taking turns. So he knows my signals. He would actually just, you know, stop everything and say, look, why don't you go and take a break? I'll take the kids, or I'll take the kids tonight. Tomorrow night you take the kids. That sort of thing. So we can both do what we need to do. Yeah. So those are the two suggestions.
Yeah. So, this is the question that I want to ask, because you have an extrovert husband, right?
Yes.
Right. So, as an introvert, so this might be valuable to the introverts who are dealing with extrovert partner or spouse,
Okay.
right, at home, because we
Yeah.
are now spending so much time with our spouses at home, right?
Yeah.
And over the years, with Fazli, how, what have you picked up? What have you picked up to keep yourself sane? Having uh 5 extroverts at home. Oh my gosh, right? So I kesian Khalif. He has 3, but you have
I
5.
have 5. Yeah, all
So
of them are extroverts. Even my
yeah,
mother-in-law is an extrovert, so that's 6.
I think, right? So what have you picked up along the way? Just to keep yourself sane, or as a self-care practice, right?
Well, I think one, I have a corner. I have a real corner specifically carved out for myself that nobody's allowed to enter. And the moment they enter, they get singa hidup lah, or dragon fire coming out of my mouth, yeah, like that, right? But I have that corner, and I recognize that with all of them, they need a constant change of environment every single day, So I tend to steer clear of whatever environment that they've chosen for that for that specific day.
Because introverts like consistency, right? So
Yes,
I
consistent.
use my space. I do not want to move. Do not
Correct.
move me, and I like it this way, and do not change my way at all.
Yeah. So
Right?
I mean, like, okay, so if say for example I'm sewing or I'm reading and suddenly my kids come and plonk themselves next to me, I'm like, what are you doing here? Oh, we thought you keep you company, mama. Then I'll just keep quiet for like 5 minutes, and then the next thing they know, they look up and I've disappeared. Because that's just the one thing I think, one skill that I've picked up is to just quietly pick myself up and leave, and nobody notices until until like an hour, 2 hours later. So then by that time I've already recharged. So that's one skill. What else have I picked up? The second thing I picked up is I cannot avoid their activities all the time,
Mhm.
because especially now, because one of their is social needs is to actually have social and emotional validation in
Mhm.
whatever activities that they do. So I think just always, the key word here for everybody, extroverts or introverts, is actually to be mindful of each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
um
Definitely, right?
be mindful of other people's needs as well. Your needs don't supersede other people's needs, and so it's a give and take process. So say for example Fazli needs a a tutorial shot, or an interview done. I don't do interviews very often, but every once in a while I will actually step up and support him, because he needs that emotionally.
Mhm.
um it used to be a source of contention between us, that I wasn't supporting him so much. But I think over the years he's come to understand that because I'm an introvert, that's virtually impossible for me to be there all the time, because crowds and cameras and people scare me. Large crowds and large groups of people. So I think once in a while, it's good to support them, because they do need that, and they are your partner. They're called partners for a reason.
Mhm.
And a marriage is 50-50, and it can't just all be about you. So the key word is exercising mindfulness of your partner's or your spouse's needs, especially if they are extroverts. Because extroverts, if they can't get validation from you, they're going to get validation from outside.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. So that's
Yeah.
13 years of marriage. I think that's the one thing that I've realized. And allow the other skill that I've picked up is to actually allow or rein in my jealousy. Rein in my jealousy and my being very very annoyed at his need to spend time with different people or different groups that don't necessarily include you.
Mhm.
And recognize and understand the need for him to spend long hours with those people. And as an introvert, I think I've never had that problem because I'm a severe introvert. So it's like for me, as long as I know where you are, you can go do whatever you need to do, right? I tak kacau and I don't do anything. So, but I at least I know where he is. So that's a skill again that I've picked up. So those are the three main things, and then um, recognize also that your spouse, if they're an extrovert, they would also need for you to recognize and validate other people who are important in their lives, and those would be their parents, their siblings, and their children. So you can't ignore those people, even if those are the people that would drive you up the wall. You still have to be consistently patient.
Yep. And that is a skill that's worthwhile to master, right?
Yes, yes, it's very worthwhile because in order to keep the peace, that's what you need to do. You know,
Kan?
yeah,
If not, it'll be causing like constant drama at
yeah,
home
yeah,
with the family and also the extended family,
yeah,
and will drive introverts crazy.
yeah.
There's just too much drama going on.
Yes, yes.
Right?
And if they do drive you crazy, the good skill that I've picked up is I have this deadpan face that in whatever situation nobody knows whether I'm upset or whether I'm being driven up the wall or I've lost my temper or I've lost my top. No. I'll wait until I have an opportunity to remove myself from the situation or from that group of people, and then lantak kau lah, then I'll do or say or whatever I need to do in order to let go of that pent up emotion. Yeah. I would never show it. I would never show my annoyance to other people. Yeah.
And I guess it's about, especially when we are being at home,
Mm.
and sometimes we are talking to our parents or parents-in-law, and they have been at home, right?
Mm.
And you know at this point of time, after 5 weeks, everyone, if they are not aware of what's happening in their minds, they are actually getting cranky and
Yes.
crankier by the week, right?
Yes. Yes.
And this is, I guess, just sharing with you and the audience, that a skill that I picked up will be, parents would always want to give you advice. It doesn't matter lah, your parents ka, your parents-in-law ka, will always want to give you advice.
Yep. Yeah.
And the automatic of an anak will always, nope, I'm going to do it my way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I guess that when, as I grew, longer in the marriage with Khalif, and I know that, okay, so my mom-in-law would actually want to say something. It's not, mom-in-law and mom ni lain sikit kan. Your
Yeah.
mom, you cakap lah apa-apa, your father, you cakap lah apa-apa kan. But then, dengan mom-in-law, you cannot, right? You
Yes.
can't actually say what you feel or think at that
Yes.
time, right? So, anything that you say back boleh jadi drama, even though it's like a one word thing,
Yeah.
but could
Not
be
even one word, one letter. K.
okay. Right, and it will be a huge drama, right?
Yeah.
And I learned about being the art of diplomacy, not at NGO worker, not only at business ke, but actually at home. This art of diplomacy will save you a lot of headache, because by picking your battle and just dengar lah, tak just you can dengar and just buat muka biasa je, muka
Yeah.
biasa ataupun just okay senyap je. Kalau sekarang ni over the phone kan cakap,
Yes.
but your mum-in-law staying with you lah over the phone, dia cakap okay just senyap je. Hello Nini, ya tengah dengar.
Yeah. Well, I
Right.
think I've always adhered to this phrase or this sentence or this principle, and it's been kindness is free,
Mhm.
but it's very expensive to be a bitch.
Right.
Excuse my language, but that's it. It's very
Yeah.
expensive to be a nasty person.
Yep.
You don't lose anything by being kind, but you lose plenty by being nasty.
Mhm.
And you pick and choose your battles lah, especially now.
Especially, but
Especially now.
there are times too that I think you would agree
Yeah.
this, right? But sometimes being a bitch works, right?
Well, yeah, of course, especially for
Right.
introvert, because they automatically think that, right? So,
Oh, nak sangat aku jadi bitch ha? Sekali.
No, it's an automatic filter. It's an automatic people filter for me. So
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Okay, and okay, let's also speak about, so you are an introvert, and I know that you consume quite a lot from social media,
Yeah.
but also I would like to speak about your appearance in social media and digital platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talking about social self-care from that angle,
Yeah.
how do you pick and choose, what do you want to do on social media, and
Mm-hmm.
what do you consume from social media? How do you do that? I just want to know what's your mental model like in that sense.
Well, I had an interview about this, I think it aired in January, so I think I must have done the interview in December sometime.
Mm-mm.
And I shared a formula with everyone, and it's a good filtering formula for every single walk in life, and it's actually just 4 letters. It's basically PQRS. So
Mhm.
P means pause, Q
Mm.
means question,
Mhm.
okay, and R means your response, and then S would be your solution. So
Mhm.
what there has to be a solution to your response.
Mhm.
So whenever I post on social media, I try to incorporate PQRS. I always pause and think, whatever I've written okay? Would it be accepted by everyone? So that's me questioning.
Mhm.
Would I get into trouble if I posted this? And then I would try, and my response, it would be, well, my response would depend very much on whether I would get into trouble or not, and
Oh,
if
am I
trouble
willing
is,
to pay for the price or not?
yes, or whether it's worth it, worth the trouble of posting it. And sometimes the issues that I highlight, especially of recent days,
Mm-mm.
especially now with MCO, I highlighted the issue about putting ladies in a perspective where they are subservient to men, where we are the ones that have to dress nicely, that have to speak nicely and speak in a Doraemon voice or whatever it was. I was very insulted by that, and I had a tactic for that, actually, and the reason for using PQRS, which was beneficial, was after I put that post up saying that I was severely insulted by whatever the ministry had done. 2 days later, I put up a picture of another post highlighting that there's an increase in domestic violence cases
Mhm.
as a result of the MCO order, and there's an increase in domestic violence cases towards children.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, I don't see any of the ministry
Respond.
people. There's no response. There's no call to action. There's not even a plan of action right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's been 5-6 weeks. So I actually followed up my post with saying, now this is the first test for the women's minister and the women's ministry team as a whole. This is what you need to concentrate all your time and effort on, and get a
Yep.
plan in action ASAP.
Yep. Right.
And that plan of action doesn't necessarily only need to be an ad hoc plan of action for for the period of MCO, but it has to be a plan of action that is sustainable
Mhm.
for later on as well. It's all about sustainability of whatever that you're doing. Sustainability of your business, sustainability of your government policies, sustainability of your country policies. So those, that the beneficial part of PQRS is you're able to do that
Wait,
with social media.
Azrin, what is the P? Can you, for the benefit of our audience,
P is pause.
P is pause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So you ponder.
Okay.
Okay. And then Q is you question. So you're asking yourself all these different questions that
Okay.
you need to be asking yourself
Okay.
about whatever that you've just done and taking a
Right.
pause to question.
Okay.
And then your R is your response. You formulate your response.
Not react but respond, right?
Yes, response. It's always response as opposed to reaction,
Yeah.
because sometimes the response doesn't necessarily require a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then S is your solution. So every single response that you have needs to be solving something, it needs to have a solution to it. And if you tick all those boxes, then you're fine. So in family situations, when things get too rough or too tough emotionally, socially, when it, especially socially, if you need to later on after this MCO is over, if you still have any toxic people remaining in your life, PQRS will help you filter them out.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of social media, it helps you filter what you should be reading and what you shouldn't be reading.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of social media, when it comes to what you're posting and what you're commenting on and how you comment, PQRS is very, very beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
It stops you from getting into trouble. It stops you from being nasty. It stops you from using that alternative reality persona that so many people have, that if you're a nice person on the outside, suddenly on social media, you're not. So it allows you, especially if you are somebody that is consistently trying to build your brand, if you are somebody in a profession that has to have a brand building around you, it helps you to stay consistent, whether it is in social media or whether it is on a personal basis.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, so that's cool. I've put in the notes at the comment area so that our audience could benefit from it.
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
And then, I guess I would love to speak more about when you spoke about the woman ministry just now,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I, and I guess it has so much to do with social self care, right?
Yeah.
And because, yes, because um, there are more domestic violence happening right now,
Yeah.
simply because I guess it's just being, it is not an excuse, but yes, stress level, depression level just heightened during this time of
Yeah.
adversity, right? During this
Yeah.
pandemic time. And, imagine that if you have a husband who is abusive towards the children, and as a woman, you are a frontliner,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just imagine that, because
Mm-hmm.
based on data, 70% of frontliners are women.
Yeah.
Yeah, so are women. And yes, that if they are at home, then also lah, we have to think of them being abused. But being moms, right? So when you are at work and you know that your spouse or your husband or whoever that is taking care of the children is abusive, maybe for a fact that that person is abusive, and your kids are at home with them, what would a mom think, kan? Macam kalau,
Mm-hmm.
so for example lah, kita keluar kerja and then we have a helper at home and we still don't trust the helper yet, we feel so unsettled, we feel worried all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And probably these are the kind of things that could be highlighted for social, under the segment of social self-care
Mm-hmm.
for under the women ministry.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And
I think, yeah, I think that's the one, that's the easiest one to protect the children of the frontliners. But even if it's not the frontliners, and you're in a house and
yeah.
you are either being beaten up yourself or you witness your children being beaten up. One,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's difficult when culture and religion comes to play.
Yeah.
We're not Westerners,
Yeah.
so it's a lot more difficult. But the thing that we always, as women, we have to remember is our religion doesn't tell us to be doormats,
Mm-hmm.
and our religion doesn't tell us or teach us to allow our children to be doormats.
Mm-hmm.
In our religion, or every religion, a woman has a special place,
Mm-hmm.
of respect, of power, of privilege. And children have that extra special place because they are seen as gifts from God, or amanah from, in our religion, amanah from Allah.
Mm-hmm.
And never, there's a lot of Quranic verses that tell you to treat your children and your wife or any women in your family with utmost respect, and with the utmost care and dedication. So if that's no longer happening, I think, one, you're not wrong to want to put your foot down.
Mm-hmm.
And if by putting your foot down, you're putting yourself and your children at risk of further violence, then you skip step one
Mm-hmm.
and just straight away remove yourself from that situation. And I know it's difficult in this time of an MCO order, but the first point of call would either be talian kasih, and if that doesn't work, then you go straight to the police station.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, make that police report and
Mm-hmm.
ask the police for permission or a letter of some sort to allow you to travel whatever distance that you need to travel in order to remove your kids and yourself from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's allowed. That's because gawat,
Mm-hmm.
keadaan gawat. And put yourself in a safe place. And if you're a frontliner and that's not possible, find a friend or find a family member that's able to take your child or your children away from that situation,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that the police know about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Courts are closed right now, so you can't put a restrictive injunction in place or even an emergency injunction in place. So, an emergency injunction would normally be 24 hours. But because the courts are not open, you're not able to do that. And I think these are all the things that the women's ministry really needs to have a look at.
Yes, and I guess there's just so much of awareness and education because they would some people experiencing this at home, they wouldn't know what to do, or
Yeah.
maybe if they are frontliners, right? Dah lah stress dekat tempat
Yes.
kerja
They can't
sekarang.
think. They can't think.
Yeah, stress fikir pasal anak dekat rumah, so
Yeah.
you just can't think, right? So this is the kind of sharing that needs to go out consistently right now
Yeah.
on social media, by the government, right?
Yes.
Maybe on the news, there's just reminder of what's going on or what can we do when we are at home and facing this kind of challenge,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And it's not just us directly. I think, we have neighbors. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're a neighbor and you see or you hear all
Mm-hmm.
these things happening,
Yeah.
there's nothing stopping you from doing something. And actually, there's another old say that goes, um, I think it sounds something like the evil that people do when they do, the evil that good people do when they do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not want to be culpable as well and
Mm-hmm.
contributory to someone else's suffering. If you can help, help. If you're in a position to do so, do so. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I hope that someone from the women ministry would watch this, right?
Exactly. Instead of saying sabar, mengucap, I'm just like, oh my god.
Right.
How can you sabar and mengucap when you've got a fist coming to your face within the next 2 seconds, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I guess the constant communication of that, okay, if this is happening to you, then this is where you could go to. This is happening to you, then who can you call? If
Yeah.
this is happening to you, who can you reach out to?
Yes. You can even call, the women's ministry can actually even make a policy that anybody that has made a police report against their spouse for any sort of violence towards them or towards their kids can actually be removed, physically removed from the premises by the police. And if they are found, and there's evidence of abuse, then they shouldn't be able to come home. Instead, they should actually be the ones in prison, and they should be paying fines, and not just fines, but proper incarceration, because nobody deserves to be hit.
Yeah, definitely. No matter what the mistake is, kan.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Yeah.
sometimes the mistake that this woman who get abused actually do, and they get abused for it, is like silly reason, masak lambat lah,
Yes.
tak
Yeah,
cakap
but
depan
Nini,
pintu
also,
rumah lah. Ah,
also on the alternative side of the spectrum, it's not just men, it's women are also doing it to men. And I think as an individual, and it comes under social care as well, kau tu pun kau dah tahu mulut kau tu jahat, becok, kau janganlah pergi cakap benda yang tak betul, yang akan menaikkan marah orang. you know it's simple common sense, right? You guys are stuck in the house together. Kau janganlah buat benda-benda yang tak sepatutnya, or say things that would hurt or harm somebody else's feelings. Again, it's all about being mindful.
mhm.
You know?
Yeah, and I guess that day, as I was speaking to Shazima, the clinical
Yeah.
psychologist from WeCare, right?
Yeah.
So she gave a very good suggestion for husbands and wives who are working at home. What we could do, if you can't really lah, kalau jumpa your husband, you memang bergaduh macam tu, have your own space. So your
Yeah.
husband have your own space, wife have your own space.
Yeah, designated space.
Yeah, at your own designated space.
Correct.
Jangan jumpa sampailah habis waktu kerja, barulah jumpa.
Betul. Correct. I mean, like Fazli and I, we're one of the lucky ones. We work very well together, but him recognizing that I'm an introvert, and I also have the OCD thing where I like things to be in a certain way, or in a certain area that I've put it in. So he's established his studio way downstairs. So I don't go down there, and I have my home office in a corner upstairs. He doesn't come anywhere near me, unless it's to do with the common work that we do. So it's personal space, and it goes back to me saying to you earlier, like for extroverts, it's extroverts will constantly need a change in scenery. So introverts have to be prepared that your extrovert spouse or child will look for you or change the place that they work. Okay. And extrovert who have introvert spouses, you have to recognize and respect the fact that they have a need for a consistent space, and they have a constant and consistent need on a daily basis to be away from people, and you need to respect that.
Yeah, definitely, right. And I guess what helped me the most with Khalif, so yeah, we have been working together ever since that we met, right? And I guess, and we fight a lot, we fight a lot because we share so many things, the things that we do together. But I realized that during this MCO, so we acknowledged and accepted the fact that MCO and what's happening economically with COVID-19 is very challenging. And the two of us need to get aligned to a common goal, right?
Yes.
And I guess being aligned to that common goal has, these 5, normally satu minggu tu memanglah ada 2-3 kali bergaduh.
Memang.
Yeah, and I guess it has been over 5 weeks now, but I think these 5 weeks 2 kali kot, 1 kali kot bergaduh, 1-2 kali kot bergaduh. And I guess that helped,
Yes.
to actually admit that it is a challenging situation and think rationally, how me, husband and wife, work together as a team towards that common goal, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Correct. And you'll be surprised, actually, the common goal is not to work, but it's the common goal is to make sure that you guys preserve the peace so that your kids don't pick up on any animosity, and
Right.
that your kids need to have some preservation of normalcy as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so that's, I think, for me and Fazli, that's actually the main common goal, because the working together part, that was, established from before work,
Mm-hmm.
the movement restriction order,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more the common goal on what we want for our kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, because they are at home with us all
Yes.
the time now.
Yes.
So they are
Yes.
watching our every
Correct.
move, right?
Correct. And for Fazli, who's used to working outside a lot and only coming back in the evening, having the kids suddenly in his face would be a bit much. Even for an extrovert,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it would actually be a lot.
Yeah.
So it's been a conscientious exercise of making sure that we're on the same page with the kids. Jangan
Mm-hmm.
pula I say something and then he contradicts. So, yeah, those kind of things just shouldn't be happening after 5 weeks. You guys should have ironed that out like the first 2 weeks of MCO.
Right? And you know what, Azrin, biasalah
Yes.
kan when we have
Yes.
an interesting conversation, the time will rasa so
Fly. Yeah.
cepat, right?
Yeah.
So fast. So, as we wrap up, would you have any last tips that you would like to share with our audience besides the
The ones
the
that I've
really
shown.
food that you are cooking every day?
Well, I think I just have some exercises or advice for those who are extroverts. I know that you guys are at a loss in terms of the fact that you guys are being socially distanced from everybody. So I know a lot of friends who have included their introvert friends as well, which is a good thing. One is FaceTime or using a lot of all these platforms to be able to meet up, have lunch together or
Mhm.
have a birthday together. I know mommies who are extroverts who I've got a lot of Zoom play dates now
Oh my God,
for
banyak betul the Zoom
yeah.
parties, right?
Yeah, and
Every night
Zoom,
I have
birthday
parties.
parties and stuff. You can organize, a bi-weekly book reading club or something. And I think the main thing is, if you are the person, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, that likes to have a sense of purpose, then
Mhm,
do a donation drive.
mhm,
Find a worthy cause. I mean, I have a friend who is very, very socially active.
mhm,
So every single day she has to have some kind of social activity. So she's actually helping me with my Trinuta Ahmad's donation drive, to raise money so that I can feed the ladies that are sewing the clothes. She's actually hosting all these daily quizzes. So whoever
Hi,
Right.
Azri.
Yeah, and however much the the
Mhm.
the the answers are that are correct, then that's how much gets donated into, you know,
Oh, cool.
yeah. So that's a way to have a purpose. And I think the other thing is you constantly need to have um, emotional feedback from people, whether it's
Mhm,
your spouse, your family, your friends. You need to go and seek that emotional feedback, because the moment you as an extrovert start to have negative emotions or troubling thoughts, these are the things that can seep in, and they need to be addressed ASAP.
mhm, mhm,
So I've already touched on group online classes, and I think for those that work from home, introverts, we're fine because we have an idea, we work it through on our own, and then we can implement it straight away.
mhm,
Because when I always like to say, if you see me talking to myself, I'm actually having a staff meeting,
mhm,
because I'm having a staff meeting with all the different characters in my head that's giving me feedback, right?
mhm,
So for those that work from home, but if you're an extrovert, you need to have access to colleagues in order for you to toss your ideas, to discuss and have input back to you before you have someone's trying to call me.
mhm.
um, so I think those are the things that would be beneficial to everyone before I leave. for the day.
So thanks so much, Azrin. As
Yes.
always, you're so awesome.
Yes.
Kan?
So
So,
thank you for having me on. I have to leave because there's
yeah.
another call that's coming right now.
All
Okay,
right.
I'll see you
See you
later.
soon. Bye
Bye.
bye. So thank you so much, audience. So Azrin has to leave, and she was with me online using her mobile phone, and there were just calls, that kept on coming in. So um, so we will be back tomorrow with another segment on 5 dimensions of self-care series, right? So stay tuned. We will be posting it out late today or tomorrow morning on who will be the next speaker for our 5 dimensions of self-care series. We will be seeing you tomorrow again at Her Rise Story virtual talk show. And just a little shout out, we will, when I say we, it's myself and Atilia Harun and 6 other micro businesses. So through Power to Empower, a show that we are doing together with Celebets Care. So Celebets Care consists of 7 celebrities who are Sazi Failak, Aisha Sinclair, Daphne Iking, Surina C, Atilia Harun, Yasmin Hani, and Dinas Mokhtar. So we have a show that goes on around 30 to 45 minutes every day at 5 p.m. And this is a social initiative that we are doing to help put the brands or products or services out there, so that during this MCO, we could all continue purchasing from these micro entrepreneurs, right? So see you later at 5 p.m. Bye-bye.